Welcome to the Eternal Quest. Today we have a special session in association with the Ahmedabad Book Club. We have a special team from the Unsent Letters from the South Asian Diaspora. I would like to welcome Ms. Shweta Singh. Ms. Shweta Singh is a doctoral student at XLRI, India, who debuted with her poetry book, An Egghead's Journal, in the year 2018, which is partially based on her experience and imagination. Since then, she has contributed to various anthologies and magazines. She is an alumnus of Symbiosis International University and Madras School of Economics and has previously worked at Indian School of Business. She is currently compiling an anthology called Unsent Letters from the South Asian Diaspora that features open letters from women's writers, scholars, entrepreneurs, bloggers, professionals, beauty pageant holders of South Asian origin. The co-authors here discuss various topics. For instance, self-acceptance, mental health, regional and gender disparity, beauty, colorism, values, beliefs, empathy, compassion, relationship, and aspirations through their open letters. And more about the book. This anthology is not just a book, but a form of expression that brings together the amazing and talented women from South Asian diaspora as they voice their stories through these unsent open letters. This stirs a conversation about how impressionable we are to our surroundings, to our society, to our culture, and to our loved ones. And it also teaches us how to get motivated, inspired, and sometimes even wounded. So over to you, Ms. Shweta Singh.
Thank you, Vijay Lakshmi, for the lovely introduction about me and our book. So I'm also thankful to Ava and Megha who have joined us at such a short notice, and thanks for the arrangement again done by Eternal Quest. So I will begin this session by introducing you all to each other and to our viewers. And later on, we'll be having a set of Q&A followed, and it will be mainly the discussions that we have on the anthology and the open letters that we have contributed to it. So Ava, I'll start with you. Ava Mir is a budding economist, a marketing enthusiast, a bodybuilder from Dhaka, Bangladesh. She is 21 years old and is pursuing her bachelor's in economics from North South University. She is a campus ambassador of Skill Hub, which is also based out of her town. In her spare time, she loves to go to gym and feed the street dogs around the house. Unsent Letters from the South Asian Diaspora would be her first contribution to an anthology. So welcome, Ava. So glad to have you joined. And our another guest is Megha Saxena. She joins us from Ahmedabad, India. She is a marketer by the day and a poet by the night and a creative junkie by passion. She strives to strike a chord with her hearts, minds, and souls of her audience by presenting poetry in the video format at various social media platforms. And finally, Vijay Lakshmi. Dr. Vijay Lakshmi is an award-winning poet and has authored around 6 books. She has a doctorate in English literature and is a full-time teaching faculty at Marwari University, Rajkot, India. She draws inspiration from the daily lives of people and she aims to represent these nuances from her work. Um, she has also, her latest release, which is a bestseller, is Love Beyond Love. And it has also received a second award at the Coimbatore Fest. So welcome, Vijay Lakshmi. And so I'll be starting with the questions and answers. And my first question would be to Ava. I want to know your journey as an economist, as a writer. When did you first begin writing? How it has been to you, the journey so far?
Well, since my childhood, I've been an introvert. So, um, since my school days, I've been the kid who used to sit in a corner with a book, and whereas everybody who used to play in the fields, I used to be the one who used to sit in the library And I remember my teacher saying that, how many more books will you read? And I used to look at her and smile and say that books are my best friend, and I don't see myself being me without my books. So as I grew up, writing became a way of expressing myself um, through my words without talking too much. And I believe in writing in a way that my readers understand. And I write for my readers. And as for economics, um, I don't think I would have been me without economics, and I would have studied if I wasn't studying economics. Economics. That's it, I guess.
Oh,
That's it
great.
from me.
Great. So Megha, please tell us about yourself. When did you start writing poetry and what it's to you?
Sure. So, first of all, glad to be a part of this session. And writing to me has come quite naturally because I had been writing since I was a kid. I used to write down my thoughts on the back of my notebook. Like each notebook would have some or the other thing written at the back. And it was later on that my teachers told me that she is quite good with writing, and that I realized that I can give it a shot. And after that I just kept writing, and I just kept growing as a writer. And then during quarantine I finally started my poetry channel, and there I started uploading poetries in video format. So yes, that's how I came across Shweta as well, and now I'm meeting you guys, so I'm glad about the journey so far.
Great. And Vijay Lakshmi, tell us about yourself. When did you first write your first story and how did it all began?
Yeah, I actually wrote my first poem at the age of 16. And like during at that point of time, like there were various questions in my mind, and it kept, it bothered me a lot, like especially the question, who am I? And what is my place in this universe? So, in my first book, that is Quest for God, and in the poetry collection, that is Poems on the Eternal God, I have like sort of tried to find answers to these. But you see, all these are complex questions. There is no one simple answer or one correct answer. There are only open ended answers, and there are numerous set of possibilities too. So this search for finding an answer, that is finding an answer for your soul search, it remain in vain, because like no one can describe those experiences, as words would not be enough to describe them. And this experience, it has to be felt only in silence, and in only in silence that he or she realizes the truth. And this truth is nothing but the inner potential to be achieved that everyone is capable of. So poetry is always dear to me, and I have the imagination and the coherent flow of thoughts and different variants of experience which is expressed in my book. And I also wanted to speak my heart out on various aspects of life. And I feel that life is so beautiful, and life is a gift, and to paint life in its authenticity is a wonderful feeling. So that's how I came up with a collection that is of poetry, that is Love Beyond Love. So in life, in continuum of life, everything was lost. So I just want to quote, uh, the interference of mind and matter, the interference of mind and matter attracts the singularity of the universe. Everything was lost, the love, the bonding, and even the separation of life and death. So here there is this sort of mirror image and the theme of binary opposites. So which ignites our soul onto the quest for the infinity. So this is how I started my literary career.
That's so well put. That's really amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, so my next question is about the discussions on the open letters that have been sent for this particular anthology. So, my first question is again to Ava. You have sent two of the open letters. The one which is addressed to the brown society at large, and the other one is a letter which is dedicated to your own self. And both of them basically is about your, it's about the choices you make as a growing girl in the society and the reaction of people around you about that. So, would you like to elaborate more on what went through your mind when you were writing these letters? Ava, you are on mute.
Well, the first letter was addressed to the brown society, which kind of reflects the subtle problems we face as brown women or brown girls or as a female individual in the brown society. Since these problems are not necessarily bad, I would say, which our parents or our elderly generations might tell us, but as for the new generation, some of the things might seem a bit problematic to us. So I kind of tried to portray those problems in a way that people in general, no matter what the age or what color they are from, might understand that what we as brown women face on a daily basis. And as for the second letter, it's a bit more personal. It's more like I wrote my personal experience as a brown girl and what I, as Ava, faced in my life. And it's my journey and what makes me me. And I hope that people will relate to that because I am, at the end of the day, just another brown girl. And my experiences might be very similar. And that might make my journey a bit more relatable. And there might be many people out there who might relate and feel a bit better about themselves. And that's all I aimed for while writing my letters.
That's amazing. Okay, Megha, you have written about modern dating. And there are many times that we had this conversation offline as well, where I don't agree with all your views and opinions about it. But still, there's this question that, there's so much of cynicism involved, and people are really not able to trust with full heart in any relationship or in love. So, how do you remove that cynicism, and what is your thinking about modern dating? Tell me more on that.
Sure. So my first letter in this book is about modern dating, and since not just for brown women but even for everyone in general, men or women, uh, alike, dating has become, especially for millennials, since there are so many options, it has become a very tricky place to be in. So I would just like to read out a poem and then I would like to elaborate a little more on my letter. Of course, this poem is not a part of that letter. It's just something that I had written a while back. So I thought it would really resonate with my thoughts. And yes, as far as dating is concerned, I personally have felt, and a lot of my friends and a lot of the people whom I have had the chance to talk to have felt a dilemma. So sometimes they feel that it's such a wonderful, such a beautiful place to be in, and sometimes they feel that, oh, it's so depressing, or it's so tricky to be there. So I would just read out this poem. The name of this poem is Playfield of Love. So I entered the playfield of love, witnessed humans, like many a dove, flapping their silken wings to display their worth. Some found an army of suitors, while some found dearth. Here, happily ever after has scattered hue and tone, modern monogamy or prehistoric polygamy, to each their own. Divorced thrice, single and wise, and two people with lifelong ties. Love happens once for some, and for some, it's reborn each time it dies. The concept of love expands as many look for pleasure and fun, while there are still some who desire to be intertwined with only a special one. As I ramble amidst the playfield of love, with all the love that I long, I start to see love as limitless, beyond the musings of what's right and what's wrong. So, like the poem encapsulates my thought that it's a tricky place, yes, of course, but then the definitions of love are changing. Love in a way is expanding according to how I see it. So I think we should try to find, instead of just rushing into something or instead of pre-deciding something, we should try to find happiness in the present moment, because the past is gone, we cannot change anything about it. The future is something which we cannot control. The present is the only thing that we have. So we should try to find happiness in the present.
That's really nice to hear. What was the second letter you were also talking about? You said that you've written something more as well.
Yes. So the second letter, the name of the second letter is Lust for Life. And that again is something which relates a lot to us millennials and even Gen Z to a certain extent. That so see, we have entered an age of binge watching, and there are so many of instant gratification. There are just way too many things which are which are trying to get our attention. Like I kept my phone on mute because otherwise there would be tons of notifications trying to grab my attention away from this call. And just like that, there are so many things that try to take our attention, and if we are not wise enough, if we are not thoughtful enough, they actually do so. They take our attention away from the present moment. And then after a week, after a year, we realize that we haven't really achieved our goals, or we haven't really gone a long mile towards the path of our goals. So Lust for Life is something which is understanding that how time is important for us, how we can live in the moment, and how we can achieve what we wish to achieve, and how to keep distractions away. That's the best part. And for that, we really need to have a shift in focus, because we need to step away from instant gratification. So yeah, that's the two letters that I've written. One is Lust for Life and another is Modern Dating. And I think these two issues are very much prevalent, and these two issues need to be talked about. So yes.
Thanks so much for the input. And I think a lot of the readers, when they read through, they'll get some idea how to go about with both of the issues that we face. Vijay Lakshmi, I want to ask you about your writing piece. You have also written about love, and but your definition of love is not something which is the regular one, and you have also tried to understand it in a more philosophical and a spiritual manner. So, could you elaborate more on that? Like, what went through your mind when you were writing it?
Yeah, definitely. So for me, like love can be considered as the other side of spirituality, which remains as a question forever. And actually, we are in search of our true nature. So, are we able to find? Is the real question. So, is it just the consciousness, or is there a biophenomena attached to it? So, I feel that the Almighty is always waiting for our love when all other forms of love are extinguished forever. So, here we have a sort of quest for love or a thirst for love, which quenches only after the love beyond the love of the divine is realized. And choosing a spiritual path and looking deep within is an option for everyone, but only a few choose to attain it. For it, you have to have the alignment of the body, mind, and the soul. The body, mind, and the soul, it has to come into unison. And when you see beyond the screen of Maya, or what you called illusion, you will realize what is dream and what is reality. So, thus, knowing is being. And love can be expressed in various ways. So initially you have to love yourself, because being born as a human being is the greatest gift. So we have to utilize each and every second. We have to be thankful, we have to be grateful that we are breathing in this planet earth, and we are fortunate enough to realize God, or to realize our higher consciousness. Because in this birth, And in the present moment, we can achieve a lot of things. And through it, we can change the past and also the future. You have love for the divine, you have love for your partner, your son or daughter, mom, dad, nature, higher force, and everything all around you is love. And love is the force around which the nature revolves. And without love, the universe cannot exist. And actually, it doesn't function properly, also. And so it's just like what you say, the love beyond love of the transcendental and the temporal. So that's why it is like love beyond love. And coming to the anthology, I have written two poems on love and one on what if. So here, love is considered to be a sort of relationship with the soul and with the divine. I am inspired by the poetry of Rumi, like the great mystic poet says, like a shadow, I exist and I do not exist. So it is all about the positive affirmations in our mind. So if you think you exist, you exist. And if you think I don't exist, you don't exist. So life is all about balancing all those positive attitudes and neglecting or removing the negativity from the life. So for this, spirituality is very essential. And the second one, the second poetry that I have written in the particular in this anthology is about what if. So what if nature ended, or what if God was just a truth, or what if love was just a passion which is never ending. So it's like sort of open-ended questions. And my favorite one, which is very close to my heart, is Musings of the Soul. So I would like to just read the poem. The musings of the human soul. The musings of the human soul. The fragmented heart, divided from the body, is not mine anymore. The vision of the future and the probability of the past is not mine anymore. The scribblings of the letters, the calligraphy of sentences is not mine anymore. The breath of my existence, the pumpings of the heart is not mine anymore. The pangs of separation, the pain of being together is not mine anymore. The vicious circle of entanglement and the straight line of detachment is not mine anymore. For my life belongs to you. For my life belongs to you, even in the abyss of death. So here it is about contemplating on the notions of life, and I would not say death, but life and the continuum of life. So here we have a sort of binary opposites, because human being and the universe is entirely made of this. You have light, you have darkness, you have positivity, you have negativity, and you have the straight line, you have the circle. So all these binary opposites put together at one point of time, a human being is capable of realizing that nothingness, or what you call the void state of the universe. From that point of time, the pain and the pleasure, the happiness and the sadness will be seen, and you will embrace the divine truth or the supreme consciousness. So this is all about my poems that I have contributed to the anthology.
Thank you so much, Vijay Lakshmi, for the input. And I think we all need to love ourselves first before finding it in some other place. And that's a very put idea, and we need to work on that. And also your idea about life and what it should be for people and for us and as human beings, because it's a gift which has been given to us, and we need to work on that. So that's quite inspiring to hear. Thank you so much for the contribution. I have also put two of my ideas in the open letter. So my first open letter is basically about trusting our instincts. So what I'm trying to say from this particular letter is that we tend to hear more or listen more to our mind and or to our heart, but it's very less that we're not very much listening to our own instincts, our gut feeling. So many times when you put a lot of your mind into the work, it leads to overthinking. And also, when we are actually following our heart, it's not wrong to do that, but many times you might get carried away by certain emotions. And it has been researched quite a lot that what happens when you listen to your instincts and how much true is that gut feel. So it has been seen that quite a time. I mean, it's not easy for us as individuals to really improve on it. But then over the year, if you have that kind of discussion, with your inner self, I think it really helps in improving that gut feeling. So this is what I have written, to basically believe in yourself and to believe in your instincts. That's my first open letter. The other open letter is actually dedicated to my old primary teacher. She used to teach us English, and I really liked the way she used to interact with the students. She was not a regular, teacher who would be interested in finishing the curriculum and then going on with the revision. She was one of those people who never actually taught people. I would say she enjoyed that process. So I really liked the way she graded people. She didn't discriminate among the kids, and it was really like I don't really remember much of the things that she taught as a teacher, but I really remember the way she treated us, and especially me, because I didn't feel that I was so good at literature. So that is basically a tribute that I have given to her in this particular writing, and I find that she's quite unconventional, and it was really good to be her student at one point. So these are my two entries to this particular anthology. And so moving on to the next question that I will ask all of you. Can you tell me one thing that you love and embrace about your culture? Like anything that you find really good and you want to propagate to other people. Ava, would you like to start?
Well, for me, it will definitely be the food. Um, as a bodybuilder, I kind of stay on a very strict routine, but
Yeah.
I'm a big foodie. So whenever I get a chance, I kind of go to like different restaurants or different. I try to go to the local stores because I kind of feel that local people cooks the best first of all, and then those food kind of help you to connect with your culture more, be it Bengali food or be it any other South Asian cuisine. Food is a way to connect people. It goes across borders, it goes across cultures, and um, it kind of connects hearts like none other. It like if I talk about Bangladeshi cuisine, each of the districts here have a different kind of cuisine, and when you eat the food, you'll kind of realize the people and their thought process. And another thing I would like to add is I believe food kind of helps me write. Food gives me the ideas that I need to write. It gives me the thought process. It presents me with the thought process of people, and I kind of get to interact with those people while I'm having their food, as I'm discussing their cuisine and why they eat what they eat. So, as I mentioned earlier, it goes across borders and across hearts and connects the hearts like none other. So, and food is one thing that I would like to take to forward in my life and present to my future generations if I can, if I don't forget the recipes for sure. Um, so, and that's something I like. As you said earlier, that in most of my letters, I've just talked about the problems of the brown society, but food is one of the things that I love, and this is something I would like to keep in my life as a brown girl, and something that I'll always be proud of.
Great. So what is your favorite food, favorite Bangladeshi food that you will ask everybody to taste in their life?
Not really Bangladeshi food. It's more like a Bengali food. It goes across like in West Bengal and in Bangladesh as well. That will be ilish mach. which is,
Fish
and
fry?
there is a dish called bhapa ilish.
Okay.
If you have heard about it, it's like a dish where you steam the ilish hilsa fish into a delicious dish, and it's lip smacking, to be honest.
That's amazing. I'll try it maybe in future and see how it's like.
I hope you like it.
Yeah, I will because fish is also my favorite. Rohu is actually my favorite. Not sure about hilsa, but I'll try it once. Okay. And Megha, what would be your takeaway? So anything that you just love about your culture?
So what I love about my culture is that we people are just very caring. Sometimes it's also taken as being too nosy or too interfering, but then I just love it. I just love how we care about each other. You know, if someone is in some trouble, someone may not have asked you for any advice, but then we tend to care a lot, and that is something which I genuinely like about our culture. I find it very beautiful.
Great. Vijay Lakshmi, about you?
Yeah. So I like the rich storehouse of the Vedas and the Upanishads because it is considered to be the root and source of all knowledge. And especially that is the Isha Upanishad is very close to my heart because you have in the beginning a certain sort of phrase which says like Om Purnamada Purnamedam Purnama Purnam Rakshita Purnasya Purnamedaya Purnameyaya Shishite Om Shanti 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 Om. So here it refers to like I bow to the complete one. And I'm also captivated by the life of Buddha, wherein he speaks about Om Mani Padmeham, that is, which is an answer to all the questions that life throws at us and challenges us. So these are the two aspects.
Great. Thank you. And for me, I think we all South Asians, we are very resourceful. I've seen it everybody, however little we are provided with, we'll try to make the maximum out of it. And so that, that word that we say in Hindi, it's jugaru. So that resourcefulness, and I think it somehow makes us ambitious as well. So that's one thing that I really like, that all of us are driven with certain motives and desires, and we try to achieve no matter whatever, is there at our disposal. It also, one thing that, in the previous era, we used to see that people used to be together, as Meka was saying, that people are caring. So ours is more like a collectivistic society, the entire South Asian society. So we try to work together, we try to uplift people together. Maybe there are certain aberrations here and there, and people just try to pull off as well. But I think overall, this is a perfect combination: being resourceful, ambitious, and at the same time, collaboration that happens. I think that is something which keeps us as the South Asian community quite unique. So that's my, liking about our culture. Um, so another set of question that I have is that what are you guys currently up to? Like apart from the anthology, something that you guys are working on. Ava?
Well, recently I'm there is a club in my university which is called the North South University's Young Economist Forum. So I recently became the research head of that club, and I'm kind of trying to focus all my concentration on that because we have two publications coming up this year from the club, which is called Chronicle and Equilibrium. It's a yearly magazine that North South University's Young Economist Forum releases, and it talks about the different issues and um, downsides and the good sides of economics around the world. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to just compile the writings for those two magazines.
Great, great. Good luck with that.
Thank you.
Megha, how about you?
Uh, so I have quite a few things ongoing and quite a few things that I'm working on. So like I shared that I also work in marketing, just like Ava. So I am getting into the deeper core of the marketing. There's much more research involved in it. there's much more planning and intuitive thinking involved in it. So I'm doing that. Then recently I also purchased my first apartment. So kind of I these days I just do a lot of financial planning. So that's another thing. And apart from the book, I've also been working on some songs. So I got my first song released as a lyricist, and there are a couple of more songs which are in the making right now. And yeah, I have been trying a little bit of powerlifting these days. So yeah, those things are going on.
That's amazing. Congratulations on your house, and I hope all your songs do amazing.
Thank you.
Vijay Lakshmi, what do you have?
So I'm working on a book of poems and also a self-help book, which is based on spirituality. And I'm also thinking of writing a novel on time and space, with these notions just being attributes of life.
Good luck with your novels. So,
Thank
okay,
you.
so my last question would be to all of you.
Yes.
Shweta,
What
but you didn't answer the question.
okay, for me, because there's not much that I'm doing right now. I just have to focus in this particular book. I am thinking of, this is actually going in the process of editing, and there'll be other, publishing and other marketing things that will be involved with the book. So unless and until this book is not launched, I won't be putting my hand in anything else. I'm also working on, my term papers that are pretty due. So I'm pretty busy with all those works. Once they are done, I think I want to continue on the creative space. I want to work on that. And I don't care if time limits me. It's something which I really enjoy doing. So maybe in the future I'll come up with such collaborations more. I want to have a participation of other set of women on traveling, because I think solo traveling or group traveling is something which is not done much, right? I mean, it's quite something which needs a lot of, especially if you're a woman, it requires a lot of safety. At least in our country, I can speak that. So I want these travelers to discuss their issues, if not issues, their experiences, how it has been like for them to travel. So that's something that that I intend to do in future, to involve a lot of travelers and writers and write about their writing experiences or traveling experiences. So yeah, that's
So you can
my
include me in the solo traveling bit.
yeah, sure, solo, group, anything. I mean, that's definitely there. All right. So, okay. So my last question is to all of you. It's not a question, basically any message that you want to give to the viewers. Something that you haven't discussed as of now. You want to answer, Eva? We'll start from you.
Okay, well, I hope the readers enjoy the book, and all of the writers who are here kind of put a lot of love and effort in writing the book, and they put a part of themselves, I would say, in the book. And we have enjoyed writing and compiling this book together a lot, and I hope they enjoy reading it as well. That's all.
Yeah, same here, even I think so. Megha, what about you?
So yeah, likewise, this book is going to be a potpourri of so many interesting topics which would make you think, topics which would make you laugh, topics which you would find to be very close to your heart. So I hope that the readers are going to enjoy that, and they are going to look forward to it. And I really hope that they support us for this, because yes, we have been putting a lot of efforts into it.
Yeah, Vijay Lakshmi.
Yeah, so the message that I would like to give is like, never lose hope and never give up, because belief and trust, these are two things which keeps the life moving. And if these combined with faith, it can move mountains and it can perform miracles in life.
Well said, well said. I hope we all are able to have that thing and still faith and go ahead with our lives.
Yeah.
So it was
Shweta, what
amazing.
is your message that you want to give?
My message would be to have strength to be kind and gentle to people around. I think a lot of us really don't understand the struggles of other people. So, and also, being authentic, being very honest with your intentions. I think that's something which is really needed. A lot of time people are scared of telling what they really feel like. And also, maybe it can be sort of judgments that they pass through, go through, and also not very sure how other people will react. So that should not be the case. Just being true, authentic, honest, and being kind to people. I think that's, if you do that, you'll be a great person. So I believe that's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So,
I
yeah.
yeah, I think we're almost done with the questions.
So, if anyone wants to add something from their side, uh,
I think I would just like to add one message, since I just said about the book and I didn't really give out a message to the viewers. So yes, I would say that in this day of social media, when this hashtag YOLO is trending quite a lot, uh, so you only live once, which is YOLO. So it's not just about doing a bungee jump, or it's not just about ice skating. It's also about living purposefully every day. So in the second letter, Lust for Life, like I've written that time is the currency of life. So you only live once is not just about once in a while going and doing something crazy. Yes, it is about that too, but then it's also about how you are spending each day, how you are investing your time mindfully, because ultimately it's all investment and return on investment. So yeah, you need to invest wisely.
yes, Shweta, do you like to add something?
Not really. I think she put it on pretty well. I think time is something which is very important, which is like money for us nowadays. I mean, it is, and the sad thing is that we at times take it for granted, and that should not be there. I'm a very hardcore procrastinator. We are creative people, so it many times we just tend to lose the trail and the time, and we just are lost in our thoughts. So I think we have to be very mindful of what we are doing. We need to be there, present in the moment, as you were also talking about that in your story. So yeah, being very mindful and just being good to people. That's something I would like to add.
Yeah. Yes, Ava, Mir, you have something to add?
As Meghadi said, that life is not just about that bungee jump, it's also about doing something great for other people, being compassionate. And that's something I believe that we usually tend to forget, that people don't really think about what they say before saying that. And words can, as writers, we know that words can have a huge impact. And the message I would like to give to people is just be thoughtful and be compassionate. Your empathy will take you a long way. That's all.
Yeah. And one more thing, I would like to ask us, about women empowerment. So, how would you like to contribute to women empowerment? So, beginning with Shweta.
So I think more than the numbers, people they believe that we can put women with certain reservations at certain places, and that will improve the entire issue of gender disparity, which is there, which I think is not really going to serve the purpose. It's just going to, you know, it's basically like putting makeup on something which is really not clean. So you have to really understand these are some deep-rooted causes that we need to investigate and see where exactly the problem lies. And yeah, I mean, there can be certain collaborations where women come together and try to uplift each other and discuss their ideas and views. And numbers are always an issue. But again, the reason why people go with representations and reservation is because things are not happening organically. Organically, we don't have a lot of women representation. And unless and until that doesn't happen, I think these kind of collaborations that I'm trying to achieve with anthologies can really help putting at least the discussions about what exactly needs to be taken care of, needs to be on the light. I think, yeah, that's from my end.
Wonderful. And Mega Saxena.
Yeah, so my take on this is that you just be the change you wish to see in the world. So your purpose of life shouldn't be to be better than someone. It should be to be the best version of your own self. And a lot of things are sometimes, so we feel that, and I also agree that there are a lot of flaws in the society, but then many times it also happens that this is where the limitation lies. So if we fix this, then I would say half of the problem is solved, because we also make a part of the society. So when we comment on the society, we also are a part of it. So let's just all be the change we wish to see in the world, and the world should be a better place then.
Excellent and well said. And Avamir, what is your take on it?
For women empowerment, I would like to say that nobody is perfect, but um, just giving, and the change starts with you. If you want to change the world, you need to change yourself first. You need to change the way you think. Maybe, yes, nobody is perfect, but maybe being um, a bit less judgmental and a bit less um, violent towards women can help to achieve that equality that we have been talking for so long for the brown society. And yes, that will come, but we need to start with us. That's the thing.
Yeah. So,
I would also like to add something to it, that the question is not who is going to let me. The question is who is going to stop me. So many times we try to play by the rules. Many times we try to walk in the straight line, but then you don't need to. Of course, I'm not saying that you go extremely violent and disrespectful towards people. Like, at least don't break that rule. But then when it comes to yourself, and you know that you can achieve something, then sometimes you need to train the people around you to to let you do that, or to not stop you to do that. And once you achieve it, people will also realize that it was not right to stop you in the first place. So we as women should also, without asking, or without even seeking validation or approval from someone, you just go ahead and do it.
yeah. So thank you, everyone. We had a wonderful and exciting, we can say a motivating session also. So thank you, Ms. Shweta Singh. Thank you, Ms. Avamir. And thank you, Ms. Megha Saxena. So here we are at uh, the end of another session, and stay connected with us every week for such inspiring and motivating interviews. Thank you all once again.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.